So I would like to introduce our first speaker, who is a wonderful disciple. And actually, I've got a really good relationship with both his parents and himself. He was born and raised by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj parents, and both his father, who's just recently passed, was very favorable to Bhakti, and was just a charming and wonderful devotee, and he's thoroughly missed by me, at least. And his mother, who is Srimati Yashashwini Didi, who's just another beautiful sevak of Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada, who's so encouraging. And so with the two parents and having such wonderful inspiration, Krishna Kripa Prabhu met Srila Gurudev in 1996, and in 1997 took Harinam and Gopal mantras in 2003. He's used to go and visit Srila Gurudev on the European festivals and in India. And so with great honor, pleasure, love and affection, I'm really happy to see you, brother. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Sriman Krishna Kripa Prabhu. Haribol.
Haribol, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuram Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayani Tinamine Vandeham Shri Guru Varam Shilpanuga Pravaram Rajarasarasikam Chanarayanam Tam Tapanam Shri Guru Charanam Vande Raman Prestaya Putale Panuga Bhakti Ram Cha Kripa Murti Narayanam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my unlimited Dandavat pranams into the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, Nityalila Pushta Om Shri Bhadasta Sadashi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj, and also unto Nityalila Pushta Om Shri Bhadasta Sadashi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, and to all of the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakava Chubhishtapi Prasanibhya Vachapati Tanam Bhavnibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha. So I was thinking I would start from the beginning, actually, of my experience with Gurudev. And actually, I was born a devotee, as Didi was saying just before Yashadari, that I have two parents who are both Prabhupada disciples. And from a very young age, my parents were very eager for me to have a high-class guru. And they were even saying that they were not sure about who they wanted to be my guru, and they were hoping that they would meet someone who they really felt was right for me. And then in 1996, Gurudev came to England, and they heard that he was coming. They didn't really know so much about him. My father, though, I'm going to speak more about this later, but my father actually back in the 80s actually met Gurudev in India, and they had some interaction. So my dad already knew something about Gurudev, but my mum didn't really know so much. So what happened was, yeah, we went to meet Srila Gurudev. And obviously being that young, my memories of Gurudev were like, you know, small and kind of vague, but I just remember from the very moment that I came into his presence that there was an undeniable potency and a spiritual energy, which it was just clear even from a young age that this was a very special soul, and not really anything that can be properly put into words even. Even as a young child, I had that realization. This is a very unique, powerful personality. So he came and did different programs in different places. When he came back the following year in 1997, that was when my parents decided that I should get Harinam from him. And so I remember we were in the Spec Center, which is actually somewhere not far from where I live, near in St. Albans area. And I remember we were in the big hall with everybody, Gurudev up there on the Vyasa-san. And I remember how they were calling everyone's name to stand up. And then that's when obviously, you know, he would be told, or each person would be told their new name. So I think also being a child at the time, I wasn't so aware of what was going on. But they said my name and everyone was like, stand up, stand up. So I stood up. And I remember kind of being a bit like the moment was, you know, quite a big moment. And obviously as a child, I was like a bit kind of confused about what was going on. But Gurudev said my name and then everyone clapped. But at the time, I actually didn't really take it in properly. I didn't actually hear what was said. And then afterwards, they said, oh, yeah, he said your name is Krishna Kripa. So, but no, I remember that moment, though, even if I, at the time, was a little bit like, you know, not quite sure of what was happening. Like, I just remember kind of the power of that moment. It felt like a very special landmark moment in my life, you know, because that was when I, you know, met my spiritual father, or at least I was initiated, and then that link was made, because once you get initiation, then there's that eternal link which never dies, you know. So really that was my birth into spiritual life, I feel, you know. It's like my second birthday, I guess you could say. So, and then over the years, I would almost every year see Gurudev, and it would either be at the European festivals or in India. Sometimes I would see him twice a year. And it was, again, that same thing I was saying about how every time you were in his presence, there was just this undeniable potency. And even just being, like when you're in close proximity with him as well, you really feel this charge of like this powerful, like spiritual energy. And I had a lot of kind of very small, sweet moments with Gurudev, which really were touching for me. Even if it was as simple as he would come over and put his hand on my shoulder, look in my eyes, and, you know, ask how I am. Just small little sweet things like that. But you just feel that it was so genuine and full of love. And again, as I said, even at a young age, I kind of had this understanding that that was my experience, essentially. So I'm very grateful that I was able to have that. And yeah, I would say it was about, well, 1996 to 2010. So that's about 14 years of seeing Gurudev once or twice a year. And yeah, a lot of kind of sweet exchanges like that. And one story I can actually tell, this was, I think, in, I think it was Venice, 2009. It was my birthday, actually, when I was at the festival. And one time after he was giving class and he was walking back to where he was staying, my mum approached Gurudev and said, oh, it's Krishna Kripa's birthday today. So then Gurudev, he gave me like this birthday blessing where he chanted some mantras and he had some flower petals, which he kind of like sprinkled over my head. And I had this very interesting experience happen to me, which to me, it felt quite mystical, actually. Gurudev, as he was chanting the mantras and he was putting the petals on my head, it was very instantaneous and sudden. And I felt like it wasn't something which came from myself, that I created the experience, but I just burst into tears. It was just like a sudden, spontaneous, I was just flowing with tears. And it felt like it was some sort of mercy from Gurudev on my birthday that he gave me that type of experience where the strong emotion came. But I really felt it was coming from Gurudev and not from myself. And I was really quite conscious of the fact that I didn't think something specific or have this kind of feeling which led to me crying. It just came. And it was really, really beautiful, actually. Yeah, I'm trying to remember other instances with Gurudev, some stories that I could tell. A lot of them, as I said, were kind of small interactions. It wasn't anything too major. Some people have like very exciting stories they can say about things that happened with Gurudev, but with me, it was a lot of short, sweet moments, you know. In fact, one time, this was actually after he had passed away, I was having some trouble, or maybe this was while he was still on the planet. To be honest, I'm not quite sure of the timeline on this one. But I was going through a difficult period in my life where I had something which was kind of deeply like a personal struggle I was going through. And Srila Gurudev during that time came to me in a dream. And he basically within the dream told me what was happening, which I was unsure about. And he made it clear that this thing, which was kind of disturbing me, which I didn't have clarity on, he in the dream told me what was going on. And later, it actually turned out to be correct, that what he actually said in the dream was what it was. And from me finding out that that's what the problem was, without obviously going into specific details, I then went to try and kind of correct the issue of what was happening in my life at the time. And then after that happened, Gurudev then returned to me again in a dream, and he was smiling, big smile on his face. So I felt like Gurudev really guided me in that situation to, help me to overcome that difficult thing I was going through at that time in my life. In other instances, I remember another time where, again, it's often me struggling, he comes to help me. But I was going through another difficult period again. And basically, I was actually staying for a short time at Sundarananda Prabhu's house. And there was a picture on the wall, a little quote of Gurudev's. And it's the famous quote we all know. It says, "I am closer to you than the air you breathe." And I remember reading that, and I said, Gurudev, if this is really true, please give me a sign. Please kind of help me in this situation. And lo and behold, very shortly after that prayer, the problem rectified itself. And I just really feel that Gurudev's hand is in everything, and often we're unaware of how much his hand is in everything, the good and the bad, So yeah, I'm very grateful actually that, Gurudev has appeared to me in different ways in my life to really guide me and help me when I've been struggling. And I'll be eternally grateful, and I'll never be able to repay that debt. So yeah, what Srila Gurudev came to give was the understanding of the highest truth, which is actually Radha Paradasya, and to understand that Radharani really is the topmost. And he came to, I think I heard before that Gurudev said, "Oh, I've actually come to tell you that Krishna is not God," meaning that Radharani is the highest. That level of pure unconditional love. And really, by nature, we are all pure unconditional love. And he just came to help us to realize that that is our position. And really, Gurudev came as an example of selflessness, really, because actually, the more we can be selfless in our dealings, just in our general life, the more satisfied we are. And that highest level of selflessness and that self-love is obviously love for the divine couple. And really, it starts with that love for Gurudev, who then gives you that connection. And yeah, so actually, I also had some realizations coming to me when I was reflecting on Gurudev. Actually, this was last year even, but I wrote them down and I thought I would share them again. Just a few small things which came to mind, which I thought was relevant to, glorifying Gurudev. So, there's the quote we all know, "Let go, let God." It's a famous quote. So it came to me when I was reflecting on Gurudev one time, that you could just as easily say, "Let go, let Guru." And I thought that was another good way of looking at the same quote. That really, if you let Gurudev kind of take the realms, or the reins, should I say, sorry, then everything will be successful, instead of us trying to manage and control everything ourselves. We're always trying to be the controllers, or especially I'm speaking for myself. And also, I quite like my quotes. I'm throwing in a few examples of quotes here, but another thing, the quote I heard one time was that if you knew everything about a person, you would never judge them for anything they would do. So you can as easily apply that to Srila Gurudev, that he knows us more than we'll ever know ourselves, and he has that full understanding of who we are, why we have our struggles, what we're going through, what we need to help us to progress and to move forward. So he has no judgment, even if we're maybe not doing what we should be doing. Really, he has that fatherly love. He always will, and he'll always be there to help us and to guide us. And, so that was quite comforting as well for me to realize, because, often I sometimes struggle with, maybe guilt because I feel I'm not maybe doing things the way I should be doing them. I'm not following my spiritual master properly. And I wish I was at times, but I'm not. My bhakti's weak most of the time. So that was kind of a realization that came to me that, you know, he's not judging, but he just wants me, of course, to do better. And it's all coming from a place of love and wanting the best for us, you know. And actually, I wanted to share also, I got sent some very nice quotes actually by my mum recently, and it was some things which Gurudev had said, and I wanted to share that because I thought they were very beautiful also. Okay, so this first one I think is really nice. He says, this is from Gurudev. This isn't from that book, Walking with a Saint. Even after my departure from this world, you can ask me any question and I will inspire you in your heart. Don't think of Gurudev as a mortal being. He will inspire you. I feel this way. I ask my Gurudev questions. I ask questions to Srila Bhaktivinoda and Srila Rupa Goswami, and they answer me. If one is a high-class devotee, he can directly speak with him in this way. Otherwise, if one is not so pure, he will not speak with him directly. Rather, inspiration will come. And then another very nice quote also by Gurudev. Someone asked me, what is your mission? What have you come here to give? I replied, my mission is the same mission as that of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, and our Guru Parampara. Our mission is to give love and affection to all living beings without any consideration of caste and creed. So, yeah, I thought that was also really beautiful. And then another short quote, Gurudev said, I don't want money, I want pure hearts. So I just thought they were sweet as well, just to really sort of show what Gurudev's mood was. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I also wanted to mention a little bit about I don't know if you just spoke to me yesterday, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've got time, don't worry.
Okay, cool, wonderful. I also wanted to speak about my father's relationship with Gurudev, because they had a very sweet, beautiful relationship, actually. And as Yashidari was saying, he passed away not too long ago. He passed away at the end of September due to COVID. But actually, my dad, he really got a lot of mercy from Gurudev. And I wanted to, obviously in honor of Srila Gurudev, of course, we're glorifying him, but also in honor of my father who recently passed, I'd like to just share some of their exchanges they had together. So actually, my dad met Srila Gurudev in the 80s in India. And they, at different times, would like just kind of run into each other almost accidentally, whether it was at different programs or different festivals or events. And they actually began to have a type of friendly connection, a friendly relationship. And actually, my dad often tells this really funny story of an experience he had with Gurudev. And it was one of the first experiences he had with him, maybe the first even, where they were on a bus on, I think it was some parikrama at that time. And they were on the bus going to wherever the pilgrimage spot was. And just by accident, or, by, Gurudev's arrangement, however you want to look at it, the only seat left on the bus was the seat next to Gurudev. So my dad sat next to Gurudev on the bus. And my dad, as I said, he didn't really know who he was at the time. And basically, he just started like kind of casually talking with Gurudev and just exchanging, a couple of like small pleasantries and stuff. And at one point, and my dad says he kind of looking back felt embarrassed that he even asked this question. He turned to Gurudev and he said, "How old are you?" and then Gurudev looked at my dad kind of with a bit of a grave face and he was like, 64. I just thought that was quite cute. And then afterwards, the bus stopped when they got to their destination. And my dad would tell the story about how Gurudev, he was the first one out of the bus. He was the first one up the hill. He was walking at such pace, no one could keep up with him. He just had this kind of like dynamism about everything, his physicality, obviously his energy, his personality, everything was just very like, as I said, dynamic and powerful, even just in the way that he had this, unbelievable speed of walking, and no one could keep up. He was very determined to get there. And it just was like, it kind of really stood out to my dad. That, again, Gurudev was this very kind of powerful, unique personality. So that was one example of an exchange, a story they had together. And yeah, over the years, they had moments. And it became, as I said, a much more friendly relationship rather than more reverence relationship, And actually, my dad would often do this. He would hit his chest and he would say, Gurudev would tell me I am your bosom friend. And he said it to my dad every single time he saw him. And also every time they saw each other, Gurudev would give him a big embrace every time, which he wouldn't do with many people. But with my dad, he was very, as I said, it was a much more friendly, loving connection, relationship like that. And actually, when Gurudev first came to the West, it was either 96, 97, but basically, Gurudev was at Astasaki's house in Watford, and my dad came to visit him. And my dad at the time was also going through some struggles. He was having a difficult time. And he was sitting at Gurudev's feet, and he was really kind of just offloading, to be honest. He was really just telling Gurudev what he was going through and how he was struggling, not doing so well. And he even was like to the point where he was tearful, my dad, because he was just really kind of coming to Gurudev and just saying, I'm struggling, And Gurudev, very sweetly, he was like, don't worry, I will take care of everything, And he had that very kind of loving mood towards my father. And that also really touched me to see that my dad actually, or rather my, Gurudev had a lot of love and affection for my father, actually. And, that really touched me and was very inspiring to me. And often my dad would say, oh yeah, I'm talking with Gurudev every day. They would have like a daily exchange. He said they would daily speak to each other. And even towards the end, he was so much having Gurudev in his mind, praying to Gurudev, chanting constantly. And I really feel that Gurudev was with him at his departure. I really feel that he was there. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that also about the really sweet kind of, as I said, more of a friendship type of relationship that Gurudev had with my dad. And, yeah, I know for sure that that my dad was in Gurudev's favor. There was no doubt about that. I thought of one last thing I'd like to share, if I have time. One very final story that I just remembered, which is that something to do with me, actually. This was from when I was a child. It's a funny story, actually. So I don't know how old I was, but I was young. And I was going through a period where I just, as a child, wanted to eat lots of sweets and chocolate and things like that. My mum was trying to say, no, you shouldn't, eat the sweets or the chocolate. And I was really adamant, no, I want to eat the chocolate. And then my mum said, okay, you know what? We're going to go to Gurudev. We're going to ask Gurudev if you can eat the chocolate or not. So we actually went to see Gurudev. And basically at the time, my mum was thinking, oh, Gurudev was going to say, yeah, no, don't eat the chocolate, And my mum was kind of thinking, oh, okay, wait to see what Gurudev says. He's going to say no, you shouldn't do it. And then when obviously my mum approached Gurudev and told him the whole story, Gurudev then looked at me with a really straight face and he said, your mother will buy you pure chocolates. And my mum was like really taken aback, and she was like, try to sort of explain herself and try and be like, oh, but what about this and that? And he kind of didn't even respond to what she said. Just looked at me again, really straight face. Your mother will buy you pure chocolate. And I just thought that was really cute. That basically, oh, actually, Mum's coming downstairs, which means I've told the story wrong. What did I tell you wrong?
You've been taught not to give you the chocolate. That's why.
Who? Anyway, apparently I didn't tell the story quite correctly. Yeah, because apparently she was saying that I was taught like I shouldn't have the chocolate or something. Maybe just from, I'm not sure. Anyway, Mum wanted to add an extra detail.
I believe your version.
Me too. But anyway, no, I just thought that was another kind of sweet exchange with Gurudev, sweet moment there. And so yeah, I think I'm going to conclude there. I'm just thinking if there's any other way I want to kind of wrap it up. If there's any other conclusion I want to give. I actually wrote some notes down, and I'm thinking that I did cover everything I wanted to say. So anyway, I feel very grateful and honored that I was given the opportunity to speak, because really, when you glorify Srila Gurudev, really what you're doing is calling out for mercy, and you are wanting to strengthen your connection with Gurudev, and as a result, with his guidance, with his, you know, as I said before, with him taking the reins, that he will, you know, strengthen or help to strengthen your bhakti. And as I said, right now my bhakti is very weak, and really part of me giving this glorification today is that I'm really praying to Gurudev that I really hope he can see that I need some strength right now, and I really need to receive his mercy in order to, you know, continue with my bhakti and be stronger, because as I said, right now it's not doing very good. So yeah, I really, really pray deeply to Gurudev that he can guide me, he can protect me, he can help me, and, you know, bring me along, you know, the path of bhakti, and even just the path of life in a way that's gonna best help me to come closer to him, and to ultimately, eventually, lifetimes away, realize the ultimate goal, and then return back to Goloka Vrindavan. So, Shri Gurudev ki jai. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Krishna Kripa. It's just so beautiful to hear how Gurudev, even for those that met him at such a young age, he was able to reciprocate and be able to have that loving exchange with even the young people, not just the people, not just the devotees that were there for a long time, but, you know, he would be able to reciprocate with everyone. It's just so beautiful. And I loved when you spoke about when Gurudev gave you your birthday blessings in Venice 2009, and that flood of tears. And Gurudev, I was listening to, and Gaura Govinda Maharaj also says, and so many acharyas say, that tears is the only way to Radharani's lotus feet. So that sprinkling of tears that he's given you is so precious, and you're so fortunate that he's given you the ability to be able to cry, even if it's, he has the capability of making us cry, making us laugh, and whatever else emotion comes with it. But for him to give someone that is just profound and amazing. And you said that, you know, everything is in Gurudev's hands, good or bad. And you know, when we hear from Shastra, when Kuntiji's prayers, she's praying for the pain so that she can constantly remember Krishna. And somehow or another, even though we don't want the pain, somehow or another Gurudev arranges in a way that it's painful, but we're able to manage and to be able to then grow forward in bhakti. So, you know, he's just, and you're right, he's just so selfless in himself. Like, he's so selfless in everything that he does. And you know, we're so fortunate to have him as our Gurudev. And not that any other acharyas, we're not fortunate to have any other acharya, but, you know, when you're speaking about your own Gurudev, you have this mamta towards him, this loving affection towards him that you can't express in anyone else. And the other thing is about him having no judgment. And I can obviously tell you from my experience that for him to make me a disciple, that, my God, he's really not judgmental, because if anyone knows what I'm like as a person, then they would understand that, you know, he really isn't judgmental. And the other thing that both you and Raghunath Prabhu, your father, said, or when you went to Gurudev about struggling, and that's what he wants. He just wants the truth, right? Like, it doesn't matter what position we're in, where we are. He just wants for us to be able to tell him his truth. And a struggle doesn't mean that, you know, there's two ways of thinking about it. And for many years I was thinking, you know what, I can't tell Gurudev that, because that's just, why would I want to do that to him? And blah. But I was listening to a lecture recently where Gurudev was saying that if you don't tell me the truth, whether I know it or not know it, even if I do know it, and I do know it, but if you're lying to me, then I can't help you. So we have to be really honest with him. And, you know, that's that personal relationship comes into place. And when you honored Raghunath Prabhu and in his glories, and I just want to say you did a fantastic job, because because of your father and your mother, I have a really good relationship with Srila Gurudev, because I remember every time I used to go to the Ganga Mata, he used to be like, yo, Yashadari. I was like, hello, and then he'd be like, hello, G. And I was like, hi. And then he would always tell me a story that he had with Srila Gurudev, and he would always like find a way to connect anything we were speaking about to Srila Gurudev. And I remember he would say, just don't worry about anything. Gurudev is with you. He'll find you an answer. And just always remember that. And, you know, all glories to him, all glories to your mom, and all glories to you, Krishna, Kripa. Like, I'm so grateful to have a family like you. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Hari
Thank
Bol.
you, Dandava. Hari Bol.
Yeah, KK, that was just delightful. I have to say, every time I see you, whether you're like going through a good part of your bhakti or not so good, it doesn't make any difference, because I just relate to you. You exude that second generation just beauty of being a devotee, whether you're trying or not. So you should know, like a planet is a planet emitting a certain kind of mood, like the moon is the moon. The moon doesn't get up saying, am I the moon? It's just the moon. So you should remember that whatever you're doing, you're exuding that devotional quality, whether you're trying or not, actually. That's what I always get from you. So so remember that. And I loved it. Can you tell me what age Gurudev was again when your dad was on the bus?
Oh, 64.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
Program. I was like, wow, that's nice. One thing I'd like to add to what you said, and I think this is really important, I'm saying this for myself as well as everyone else. When we pray for the mercy of Gurudev, can we please remember to receive his grace? It's like, when I go up to Srila Gurudev and get a sweetie from him, what was really beautiful is my hands are huge compared with most people's hands. So he always knew it was me, however big the crowd was, and gave me 2 ladus. Yeah. And I remembered, even though I don't like Indian sweets, I would always eat them all, right? So why would we go up to Gurudev, receive the sweets, and then put them in our pocket? It wouldn't make any sense. So while we beg for mercy, we must also remember to receive the grace. This is what's going to carry us through. That's what came to me when you said about receiving mercy, about begging for mercy. And I just had one little question for you, and I don't want to put you on the spot at all. If you don't answer this, don't worry. But is there a single instruction that Gurudev gave you or the general devotees that really has been the most potent for you? Would you like to, if you could share that? And if you can't do it, don't worry. I just felt like asking you that.
Well, one thing that I remember he would say, just the first thing that kind of came to my mind, to be honest, and I have heard him say it in the past, you know, a few times. I don't remember the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. He would often say, don't be hopeless, right?
Yes.
And I think that's really beautiful, because there are times where we are obviously struggling, whether it's in bhakti or in life, and we can maybe feel a bit hopeless at times and not feel that we do have that strength. But especially with such a Mahabhagavat pure devotee guru as Gurudev, how can we ever be hopeless, you know? So that was something that just came to mind. I've remembered that over the years, you know, so.
Don't be hopeless. And he'd say like, don't be hopeless.
Yes, yes.
But the inference is helpless is fine, because we are helpless. And he's the help, but don't be hopeless.
Yes.
Beautiful. Lovely. Thanks, KK.
Thank you. Haribol.
I hope you can stay. I don't know how busy you are, but it'd be lovely if you could stay. We've got the rest of the program. We've got some relishable speakers coming up. And I'm going to move over to Brazil now. We're going to fly over from Watford. Yashashvili, I hope you're well. Don't interrupt your son again. I was just interrupted by my mum, and I realized that I must be getting some Krishna's mercy, because like he's afraid of his mother, I realized the reason why I forgot that line was because I was afraid of my mother coming in. It completely threw my mind. She just came in, and mothers have this way of coming in just at the time that's going to throw us the most. So out of all the time she came in was when I was actually talking to all the devotees. It's so funny. I saw your mum yesterday. She's so beautiful. Your mum and dad are amazing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful family.